afternoon, ladies, and welcome to How to Manage Financially During a Crisis. I am your host, Carla Gibbs. I'm a native of Delaware. I am a Christian business owner. I came into the financial services back in '96. I came into the insurance side of it back in 2000. I know during this time there's so much uncertainty going on because of the COVID-19 and everything, and I rest assure you we'll get through this just like 2008 in the mortgage industry. I was in the mortgage industry when 2008 came. So this is sort of kind of my second pandemic to some degree, but this is probably the most uncertain that has been in history. I am an independent contractor with a Fortune 100 company. And based on my production, I've been blessed to be able to offer grants to the minority and nonprofit organizations of my choice, which is how I actually reached out to S.A.R.T when I first moved down here. I am a partner and a volunteer at the Center for Girls. I am passionate about empowering, encouraging, and educating women on how to crystallize their financial goals and objectives. So as I was trying to bring forth some information that I felt that was going to be crucial for you, I feel free to use the chat to put any questions in there. Zoe is going to let me know if there's any questions, but feel free to jot down anything as you're going along, because I know oftentimes with finance, most people get a little, nervous because it's not necessarily their strong point or something you really don't want to talk about. So I figured because this is mostly women, I would start out with this poem. A strong woman is someone who feels deeply and loves fiercely. Her tears flow as abundantly as her laughter. She is both soft and powerful, is both practical and spiritual. In her essence, a strong woman is a gift to the world. So I really believe we are a true gift to this world. So, so ladies, we're gifts. Don't forget it. So let me go into this presentation. Okay. So I came up with the idea of 7 things every woman must know about life in general, about finances. Number 1 is uncertainty. Number 2, establish SMART financial goals. Number 3, magnify pre-tax and tax advantage contributions. 4, protect your most valuable asset. 5, evaluate your risk tolerance and rebalance as needed. 6, know your credit score. And 7, job unpredictability. And I tell you the reason why I selected those particular 7. It was actually 10, but I figured I didn't want to lose you. I wanted to keep it interesting. I wanted to keep it interactive. So, like I said, feel free to ask any questions. So I'm going to go in each bullet point, I'm going to break it down. So with uncertainty, which is where we're at, during this time, we've been forced to think more about our health, humanity, legacy, and other delicate topics, perhaps for the first time. And many of us, are baffled, like, what should we have done differently to prepare for this? And it kind of gives you, you kind of think about, is there anything that I could have done different? And I would say yes and no, depending on who you are and where you're at in your stage of life. But this is one of those things in life that we just have to be able to, go with it, feel it, and just, try to stay positive for the first and foremost, because this is something that's truly not in our control. And as women, I don't know if any of y'all are like me. I feel like I'm Superwoman. I wear many hats, and, I got control issues. And so this was very, very hard for me the first couple weeks of being home, because I'm a people's person. I like to be out and about, and, being single and no children, it's, I think it's kind of hit me a little differently than I anticipated it would hit me, So, so the next bullet point is establish SMART financial goals. Some of the ways that we could have kind of prepared for this is to have 3 to 6 months of expenses saved for emergency, because during this time, cash is king. You don't want to go and get yourself in, credit card debt unnecessarily, and then, create a crisis budget. How much do you need for essentials like, food, shelter, transportation, And then there's budget software out there like mint.com and ynab.com. These two budget softwares are so key in helping you formulate a budget. And then it shows a pie chart, because a lot of times when we're spending, we're not exactly sure where the money is going. So if you're using like a budget and just doing the budget for essentials, because during this time, most people are reevaluating their budgets because, you know, they don't know if there's going to be job loss or whatever the case may be. But I would say in all of this, prioritize your goals. Make sure each one is SMART. SMART meaning being specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. And then, of course, magnify pre-tax and tax advantage contributions. A lot of people don't know this, but each year the employee contribution limit for employer-sponsored retirement plans, they increase due to inflation. The catch-up contribution is limited to participants 50 and over. It increases as well. So those are the limits, 19,500 and 6,500 respectively for 2020. But I would say check your IRS guidelines to see if you're eligible for any tax advantages for, oops, back up, hold up. I knew this was gonna happen. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Sorry, ladies. I'm trying to move this picture up so I can see. Oh, okay. So sorry about that. So check your IRS guidelines to see if you're eligible for any tax advantages, savings vehicles like Roth or 529s or SEPs or anything like that. Let me know if I'm going too fast, because I do speak fast. Are we good? Okay, so now protect your most valuable asset. A lot of people don't realize human capital is probably a breadwinner's most valuable financial asset, yet many people do not protect it. And I'll get into later more about what human capital is. You know, that might be a word that you would jot down, and you probably could Google it, or may have want me to elaborate into it more. And of course I will. So we go around, we insure our autos or our homes, our cell phones for damage, loss, or theft. But you really should consider protecting your human capital, which is your future earnings, with life insurance. A lot of people feel like, you know, oh, I got life insurance through work, but what if you lose that job? And a lot of times that life insurance is group insurance. It's based on a group, not an individual, and it's typically term, meaning that there's no cash value that you can borrow from it if there's an event of emergency. So I would, highly recommend you to reach out to a financial professional to help determine what your human capital is and implement a life insurance strategy to protect your income and your family against anything that could come up unexpected. And then, of course, you need to be able to evaluate your risk and rebalance as necessary. Finding the right blend of investments is crucial to managing your risk and volatility. And you need to assess the following before you decide to invest. A lot of people don't realize that investing takes money. You just can't, if you don't know how to save, you can't invest. That's the main thing. I get a lot of young people that say, oh, Miss Carla, I want to invest. And I'm like, okay, how much do you have saved? And then we get crickets. And I'm like, well, how do you expect to save? We need some money. We need some money to be able to do that. So you need to be able to look at your available assets, your liquidity, and that's for your needs for, emergencies, what your investment goals are, time horizon, when you're going to need it or when you're going to go on retire, and find out what your risk tolerance is. Some people, of course, when you're younger, you're probably more aggressive. Middle-aged people tend to be more, a little more conservative, and then, much older people, older people tend to be more conservative, and then younger people tend to be more aggressive, and then middle-aged tend to be more moderate, depending on what their family dynamics are. Any questions so far? Because I'm going pretty fast, right?
Yeah, I'm not seeing any questions, Carla.
Okay. And then you have to, of course, know your credit score. Credit scores typically range from 300 to 850. this number could be a little bit different. When I was thinking of this, I'm thinking of me doing credit back in the day. I don't even really know what the numbers are right now, to be honest with you, as far as solid numbers. I guess I probably could have Googled it, but typically credit card companies, mortgage companies, and other lenders depend on your credit score to decide the amount of interest in terms of a consumer loan that they offer you. So these numbers right here are on point as far as the credit scores, how they're calculated based on the criteria. Your payment history is typically 40%, credit history 21%, your credit used is 20%, recent balance is 11%, new credit is about 5%, and available credit is 3%. So they look at this as a whole, like a whole holistic way of determining your risk, whether or not you have the ability to, you know, repay any debts or any loans that they give you. And then of course there's
Carla, there was one, somebody asked, it's an anonymous attendee, asked just if you could slow down just a little. I think they're typing notes.
Okay, sorry about that.
Oh, and I also want to add to anybody that's calling in, I will be sending out this video to everybody that registered, along with a copy of the presentation. So if you need to take notes, or if you're, you know, wasn't able to write something down, you will be getting this in an email after the presentation's over.
I told you I speak fast. Just get into a rhythm and flow, you know? So then, you know, of course, you know, there's individuals out there that's facing job unpredictability. So with the stay-at-home orders and economic uncertainty, you know, there may be some nervousness about, you know, your personal finances and your cash flow. And again, I would say check with your financial professional, because you may be able to withdraw a portion of your cash value that is accrued in your life insurance policy. A lot of people don't know that. Now, this is for whole life only. It's not, you know, term. Typically, term is not anything you can borrow against, because it's just like renting. Whole life is more like, you know, when you own a home, there's, you know, equity built up in it. But keep in mind, if you do that, accessing your cash value will reduce your cash available or your cash surrender and your death benefit as time progresses on if you do not pay that back. And I believe this might be almost my last slide. It is. So I you know, everyone knows Oprah. She's you know, a female billionaire. And you know, it's a powerful thing that, you know, I was looking online and I found this that said the reason I've been able to be so financially successful is my focus has never ever been 1 minute on money. And I would say that holds true. That's probably why this slide, you know, jumped out at me. I believe in, you know, giving back. I believe in giving of my time, talent, and my treasure. And I believe that's where my success has really come from, because I've been a giver more than a taker. You know, I've never looked at the bottom line. I always, you know, when I decided to go and volunteer for the Center of Girls, I always was a part of faith-based mentoring and ministry back in Delaware. And I just remember the girls, I was telling, you know, Satora, I was like, you know, you all give me life because I don't have family here. You give me life being able to come and teach and pour into these young ladies, you know, financial literacy and things like that, and things that they're typically not, you know, accustomed to hearing. And they're not typically accustomed to seeing women of different, you know, ethnic groups being entrepreneurs, and allowing them to see that you can be anything that you want to be, you know. So I would say that Oprah definitely put the nail on the head when she says her focus hasn't been on the money. And for me, it hasn't been either. You know, it's been the independence and the impact more so than anything. You know, I'm all about girl power. Definitely all about girl power. You know, I think we're the best gift that God has ever created, you know. And so then there comes this right here. A Woman's Best Protection is a Little Money of Her Own by Claire Booth Lucy. And I love this because, you know, my being raised by an older generation, my grandmother always said, you know, sometimes you don't let your left hand know what the right hand's doing. And so I'm kind of putting my old school stuff into this too, into this new school way. But it holds so true because, you know, there's a lot of women that are, you know, married and some are single, and a lot of times, you know, society forces us to try to believe a certain thing about who we are. And I would just say, be true, be your authentic you, and not worry about what society says, because at the end of the day, you have to live through, grow through whatever you're going through, you know. I see a question up there, Zoe.
Yep, I was didn't want to interrupt you. What you were saying was so important. There is a question, yeah, she asked, with the life insurance cash in possibility, does that apply to life insurance from your job?
No. As I first stated, typically life insurance through your work is term insurance. It's based off of a group policies, where it's less expensive when you do it through a group because the whole group is taking a risk as opposed to one individual. If that individual, I would love to be able to, you know, sit down, and I would encourage anyone to, you know, reach out to me. I'm going to give you my information to reach out to me just for a free consultation, and just to gauge where you're at, where you're trying to be. And, you know, I can definitely help you devise a plan to get there. And there's no cost to meet with me. I'm not a broker where I charge you fees or anything like that. So, you know, life insurance is just one of the products and services that I offer. I mean, I cater customized plans for each individual. So, you know, what may be good for a single woman may not be good for a married woman with children. So I would say, you know, that's the downside of having, you know, insurance. When you have insurance at work, it's great, but you allow your employer to control that. Whereas if you have insurance outside of work, you control that. And who better have who has your best interest at mind or at heart better than you? You know your family situation and dynamic more than your employer does, you know? So I would say, you know, feel free to, you know, reach out to me. Don't feel like this is a sales tactic, because it's not. I truly do believe in empowering women and educating them and encouraging them to make the best decisions for themselves, because at the end of the day, you're the one that's living through this. You know, you have to make these decisions. And I remember growing up, my grandparents always said it was no one else's responsibility to take care of your family but you. And this is one way that you can take care of your family to ensure the benefits, because there's so many myths out there about life insurance. Most people think it's death, and it's not. Life insurance is love insurance. It's love insurance. It's how much you love the people that you know that you have around you, how you want to protect them. And that's so important, you know, because if you don't do it, who's going to do it? No one. So yeah, I mean, and there's living benefits to life insurance. So, you know, this definitely, all these tools that I've given you definitely can help you manage financially through, you know, any crisis, whether it's, you know, COVID-19 or, you know, whatever the case may be. And then this last slide is like a financial journey. And this is the game of life for women. I say for women because, again, we wear many hats. We have that journey where we begin. You know, some of us get married, some of us don't. Some of us start a family. So, you know, this little roadmap just says it for me. You know, it's kind of big, so you can't really see the game of life at the bottom. But I looked at this when I was looking for pieces to share. I thought this was so important because, you know, a lot of times, you know, our paths are different, but the end result, the end goal is very similar. It doesn't how we start out, it's how we end. So, and that's what makes us all unique. And you know, so any questions for me? Any comments? How did I do? You know, so that's the end of my presentation. And I thank you all for coming in, signing on, and giving me support, and just loving me to pieces.
Thank you so much, Carla. And Carla, if you would like, when I send out this presentation to everybody who registered, I'll also include your contact information in that email in case anybody wants to.
Well, here's the last page. Oops, shucks. Hold up. Here we go. Ah, look at this stupid thing. I got all these screens up. Okay, here we go. So that's my contact information. You can call me anytime. I also, if anyone is really serious about it, I can send them my calendar. I have a calendar to let you know what my schedule looks like, and you'll be able to plug in a day and time that's, you know, most convenient for you. And I love the opportunity just to sit down, to shake your hand, or just to do a Zoom meeting, because I love making connections, you know.
And there was one last question before we sign off. Somebody asked, what's the best and most affordable investment to make right now?
Right now, it would really be about where you're at, like what your end goal is right now. A lot of people feel like because of the market is the way it is, they want to go and try to, you know, take the money out of the market or what have you. But I would say, again, it depends on what your risk is. And you know, I could sit and have a conversation with you and let you know based off a questionnaire where your risk is. You know, it varies for each person. That's why I don't want to say, you know, do this, do this, do this. But it varies. It varies. You have to look at what your goal is first, and you know, whatever your goal is, how you're going to get there. Because what you don't want to do is put yourself in a position where you've overextended yourself and now you're scrambling, you know. So it definitely takes planning. Definitely takes planning.
Okay. And then Carla Jones Wilson just said thank you for your time, and that she really enjoyed the presentation.
Okay, awesome.
All right, well, thank you so much, Carla. And as I said to everybody, I'll be sending out this presentation, the video, and I'll include Carla's contact information as well. Oh, last question that's like popping in. Somebody asked how many sources of income should someone have?
Well, the average millionaire has 7.
Wow.
And I'm gonna just park it right there.
That's seven sources of income.
The average millionaire, if that's your goal, if millionaire is your goal, the average millionaire has 7 sources of income.
Wow.
7 sources. And it's all diversified because you need to be able to make money while you sleep.
I think that's a perfect place to end. Food for thought.
Yes. We can get there together.
All right. Thank you so much, Carla. And
thank you, Zoe. You take care. Be blessed, be well, and be safe, everyone.